So, good morning, Sir Paz. My name is Cabacungan po, and today I will be discussing about this code in order to generate the pattern on activity 11 po, which is this one. So, in order to do this po, dinivide ko po sa 3 sections ng triangle yung pattern na ito. So, yung first triangle is itong space, wherein it will create inverse triangle. Then, yung second triangle is hanggang dito lang po sa may 5. Yan. Hanggang 5. Tapos, yung last triangle po is hanggang dyan lang po. Yan. So, himay-himayin ko po muna yung mga codes kung paano nakuha yung pattern na ito. So, first row or yung outer loop po is responsible for generating the row. So, since nag-input po ako ng variable na n is equivalent to 5 and nandito po siya, it means that there are 5 rows, and this outer loop will execute 5 times in order to create 5 rows. So, ito po yung 5 rows na ito. So, this first inner loop naman po is responsible po for generating these spaces po. Kada execute po nung loop na ito is nababawasan po siya after each mag-execute po nitong after each time na matatapos po itong outer loop na ito. Nababawasan po siya, kaya nababawasan na yung spaces here. So, next is for this second inner loop is for this one, yung big triangle na ito, wherein it will print digits, and then yung naka-input dito po is yung value na mag-print. So, hanggang 5 lang po yan. Hanggang dito sa line na ito. Kung nakikita niyo po yung cursor. Then, itong final or last, yung pang third na inner loop is for printing this one. Ito pong much smaller triangle. Nahati po siya. Ayan. Yung after 5 po. So, let's start po. Okay, so, sa outer loop, mayroon po tayong I, which is equivalent to 1. And is I less than or equal to n? Yes, it's true since it is less than 5. So, automatically, meron na po tayong first row. Then, within that outer loop, it will print yung mga, kung ano man po yung nasa loob ng first row na yan. So, yung inner loop po, yung first inner loop, it will print the first space. It will print the spaces. So, j is equivalent to I, which is 1. Is j less than or equal to n or 5? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it will print out a space as indicated by this code, wherein it will print out a space here. Yan. So, since, as I said earlier, j is equivalent to 1 and it is less than 5, we will implement change by incrementing the value of j. So, j will now be 2. So, is 2 less than or equal to n? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it will print another space. Kaya po, nagkaroon tayo ng second space here. Then, since, again, na pumasa po siya sa condition na ito, we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of j again. So, j will now be 3. Is it 3 less than or equal to n? Yes, it's true. So, again, magpe-print po siya ng panibagong space. So, here is the third space. Yan, yung pang third space. 1, 2, 3. Yan yung pangatlong space. So, is 3 less than or equal to n? Since sabi nga po natin is na approve siya dun sa condition na ito, we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of j again. So, j will now be 4. Is 4 less than or equal to n, which is 5? Yes, it's true. So, may panibago na mag-system out that print na naman po ng bagong space here. Ayan. So, may pang fourth space na po yan dyan. So since 4 it passes this condition again, we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of j. So j will now be 5. Is 5 less than or equal to n, which is 5? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it will print another space here. So this one, yan yung last space. So let's say kapag i-increment pa po ulit natin yung value ng j, it will now become 6. Therefore, hindi na po siya pasado sa condition ng j is less than or equal to n. Therefore, from there, we can say that this first loop executed 5 times in order to print 5 spaces. Yan po yung 5 spaces na ito. So, since false na siya, we will now jump to the second inner loop. Ito po. Yarn. Okay. So, yung second inner loop naman, we have m is equivalent to 1. Wait lang sir. Yung second and third inner loop will be responsible for printing the digits. And yung ipiprint po nila doon is yung value ng digits as dictated by this system out that print po. So, yung number of digits po, yung second and third inner loop. So, again, going back po, we have m is equivalent to 1. Is m less than or equal to I? Yung I po natin earlier is 1. So, yes, it's true. Therefore, we're going to print the value of m. And what is the value of m? The value of m is 1. So, ayan po, na-print po niya ang 1. Ang 1. Yan. So, let's say, since napas po nung m, yung value ng m is napas po niya yung condition nito. Therefore, we're going to execute change and increment the value of m. However, magiging 2 na po ang value ng m. And this doesn't satisfy this condition anymore. Therefore, tapos na rin po ang itong loop na ito kasi hindi po niya na-satisfy na pag in-increment pa natin ang value ng m. Kaya po, isa lang ang na-print niya na number. So, if ever po, it will proceed to this loop. However, this loop po, we have condition wherein L is equivalent to I minus 1. So, ang I natin earlier again is 1. So, kapag may 1 minus 1 natin, magiging 0 po ang value ng L. However, may condition po tayo dito na L is greater than or equal to I. It doesn't satisfy this condition. Therefore, tapos na po, or nag-false na siya. Hindi niya na-execute tong code na to. And, basically, isa lang po yung digit na na-print since yung process is na-satisfy lang po niya ng isang condition itong time na to. At hindi na rin po niya na-satisfy ang pang third na inner loop. Kaya isang digit lang po ang na-print. So, we'll jump to the next row na po. So, after that, sir, let's say, magkakaroon pa ng isang row. Kung meron man, yung code po na ito is para hindi lang po magdikit-dikit yung mga number or yung mga rows. Yung system out that print line. Okay. So, ang unang condition po natin ng outer loop is na-satisfy since I is equivalent to 1 and I is less than or equal to n, which is 5. Therefore, for this time, we're going to implement change by incrementing the value of I. So, I will now be 2. So, again, ang value na po ng I natin this time is 2 since earlier, na-satisfy po natin. So, again, once po tapos na lahat mag-execute yung mga inner loop, it will go back to the outer loop po. So, again, the condition na po natin this time, ang I is equivalent to 2. Here. Yan, 2. Para hindi tayo malito. So, therefore, meron na tayong agad second row automatically. Pero, we don't know pa. Let's say, hindi pa po natin alam kung anong nilalaman ng row na yun. Pero, meron na po tayong second row. So, again, execute ulit yung inner loop. So, j is equivalent to I, which is 2. Is j less than or equal to 5? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it's going to print out a space as dictated by this code. System out that print space. So, meron naman tayong isang space dito. So since 2 is less than n, and it satisfies the condition, we're going to implement change by incrementing the value of j. So it will now become 3. J will now become 3. Is 3 less than or equal to n? It's true, so magpiprint na naman po ng bagong space. Correct. Ng bagong space, ayan. So, since, again, ulit, na-satisfy niya ang condition, we're going to increment the value of j again. So, j will now be 4. So, is 4 less than or equal to n? Yes, so we will print this code, we will print another space. So, ito na naman isang space. So, lastly, since na-satisfy ng j, since ang value ng j is 4, satisfy na naman niya ang condition, we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of j. So, j will now be 5. So, 5 is less than or equal to n? Yes, it is true. So, magpiprint po siya ng value ng isa pang space. So, ayun. Since nag-start po ang j sa 2, and we have a condition here na mag-end lang siya sa 5, therefore, this code will run 4 times lang, and it will give us 4 spaces here. So, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, nag-start sa 2, sir, diba? Ito, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kaya 4 spaces po. Ayan. Check ko. So, next, let's jump out. Since tapos na po siya, and kapag in-increment po natin yung value ng j, hindi na niya masasatisfy since 6 is not less than or equal to n. Therefore, this loop is done already, and we will jump to the next inner loop. So, m is equivalent to 1. Then, we have a condition m is less than or equal to I, which is 2. Yes, it's 2 since 1 is less than or equal to I. Therefore, ipiprint yung value ng m. So, ang value ng m is 1. Therefore, ayan na po ang first. Ay, hello. Bale, sir, ipiprint niya po ang wait lang, sir. Yan. I-print na itong value na ito. Next is, since sinabi po natin na the value of m, which is 1, satisfies this condition, we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of m. So, magiging 2 na siya. So, m is 2, and 2 is less than or equal to I, which is 2. Since 2 is equal to 2, therefore, it's going to print another value of, or another digit, and that the value of that digit is m, which is now 2. So, therefore, it's going to print the second digit, and the value of that digit is number 2, as dictated by m. So, let's say, since 2 still satisfies this condition. However, if we increment change, m will now become 3. And 3 is not less than or equal to I. Therefore, tapos na po ang loop na ito since hindi na po siya nakasunod, ay hindi na siya nasatisfy yung condition na ito. So, hindi na po mag-execute yung code na ito. And it only executed 2 times in order to give us these two digits. Okay. So, let's see po kung sa third loop is meron siyang ma-print. So, L is equivalent to I minus 1, and the value of I have here is 2 again. So, 2 minus 1 is equivalent to 1. So, we have a condition L is greater than or equal to I. Yes, it's true since 1 is equivalent to 1. So, we're going to print out the value of L as dictated by this code. So, system.out.println. So, ang value ng L again is 1. So, ayan, na-print na yung 1. So, let's say, sir, na-satisfy niya, which is true naman, na-satisfy niya yung condition ng neto. Since 1 is equivalent to 1 naman. So, kapag ganun po, is mag-decrement yung value, we'll execute change by decrementing the value of n. However, kapag din-increment po natin ang value ng L, it will become 0 na. And 0 doesn't satisfy this condition since 0 is not greater than or equal to 1. So therefore, hindi na po mag-execute ang code na ito since hindi na po na satisfy yung condition ng L is greater than or equal to 1. So therefore, for this row, one time lang po nag-execute ang third inner loop. So again, tapos na po ulit ang lahat ng inner loop. Print line na naman po. And this time, babalik na naman po tayo sa outer loop. So, earlier we stated that I is equivalent to 2 and it satisfies this condition. Now we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of I. So, I will now become 3 ngayon. Magiging 3 na po siya. Ayan. Okay. So, I is equivalent to 3. Is I less than or equal to n? Yes, it's true. Therefore, we have this third row na. So, again, let's say na hindi pa po natin allow kung ano yung mga nilalaman ng third row. So, ang nilalaman ng third row is, again, malalaman po natin pag na-execute na itong lahat ng inner loop na ito. So, let's see. So, for the first inner loop, we have j is equivalent to I. So, j is equivalent to 3. So, is 3 less than or equal to n or 5? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it's going to print the first space. Yan. First space na ito. Okay, so since 3 satisfies the condition, nag-print na siya, now we're going to implement change or execute change by incrementing the value of j. So j will now be 4. Is 4 less than or equal to n? It's true. So again, mag-print na naman po siya ng panibagong space here. Ayan, yung pangalawang space. So 4 is less than or equal to n. It's true. So ayan po, nag-print ng bagong space. Now we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of j. So ang maging value ng j now will be 5. So and 5 is less than or equal to n since the value of n is 5, which is 5 is equivalent to 5. So since na-satisfy niya, we're going to print another space here, as dictated by this code system out of print space. So ito po ang final space. So again, sir, kapag in-increment po natin ang value ng j, which is 5, it will be 6 now, and it doesn't satisfy this condition. That is why hindi na po siya nakapag-print ng bagong space, and doon na po nagtatapos ang pag-execute ng first inner loop na ito. So, basically, the first inner loop executed 3 times, giving us 3 spaces. So, 1, 2, 3. Yan, yung 3 spaces. Okay, so since tapos na itong first inner loop na ito, we will now jump to the second inner loop. Ang second inner loop po is to print these digits. Yeah, that digits, yung 3 digits na ito. Okay, so, kunwari, hindi po natin alam kung anong piprint niya. So, m is equivalent to 1 and m is less than or equal to I. Yes, it's true since 1 is less than or equal to the value of I, which is 3. So, therefore, magpiprint po ulit ng value ng m. Ang ipiprint na doon ay yung value ng m. And ang value ng m is 1. Ito na po yan. 1. So, since earlier, 1 satisfies this condition, we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of m. So, m will now be 2. So, is 2 less than or equal to I? Yes, it's true, since 2 is less than or equal to 3. Therefore, it's going to print out again the value that is stored in m. And the value stored in m, as previously mentioned, is 2, since nag-increment na siya. So, ayun. Na-print na niya yung 2. So, since nasatisfy na naman niya, we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of 3, the value of 2. So, now m will become 3. So, is 3 less than or equal to I, which is 3? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it will print the value of m, which is 3. Therefore, ayan po, yung value ng 3. Kapalit na naman. Yan. Therefore, ayan, na-print na niya po yung value ng 3. So, let's say na since na-satisfy naman yung condition na ito, wherein m is equivalent to 3, and it satisfies this condition, let's say, increment po natin ang value ng m, ng 3. So, magiging 4 na po ang value ng m. However, it doesn't satisfy this condition. So, from there, tapos na po ang execution ng code na ito and only executed 3 times. So, therefore, it only executed 3 times, printing 3 digits, wherein yung 3 digits na yon ay magpiprint ng value na nakastore sa letter M. Okay, so done na itong second inner loop. Okay, so since done na itong second inner loop, let's try the next, the third loop, kung meron ba siyang maipiprint na digit or value. So, L is equivalent to I minus 1. So, 3 po ang I natin. So, 3 minus 1 is 2. So, ang value ng L is 2. So, is 2 greater than or equal to I? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it's going to print out the value that is stored in L. And the value that is stored in L is 2. Therefore, kaya po, na-print niya itong 2 na ito. So, since earlier it satisfies the condition, we're going to execute change by decrementing the value of n. So, L will now become 1. So, is 1 greater than or equal to 1? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it's going to print out another digit, and the value of that digit is stored in L, which is 1. Therefore, na-print niya po itong 1 na ito. So, let's say, nasatisfy naman po niya yung condition since 1 is equal to 1. Now, we're going to decrement the value again. However, pag din-decrement po natin, magiging 0 na ang value, and it doesn't satisfy the condition here anymore. So, from there, tapos na naman po itong code na ito. Itong third code. So, let's see, tapos na po lahat ng inner loop. Therefore, magpiprint bago na naman pong line, if ever meron pong bagong row. So, we'll go back to the outer loop. Since previously, ang condition natin I is equivalent to 3, and it satisfies this condition, now we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of I. So, magiging 4 na po ngayon ang value ng I. Since increment natin, and earlier it satisfies the condition as well. So now the value of I is 4. Here, as dictated by the unary operation I++. So, yan, nag-increment na naman ng value. So, ang I natin is 4 na. So, we'll go back to the inner loop. Pero this time, ang condition niya I is equivalent to 4. Okay, so we have J is equivalent to I, which is 4. Is J less than or equal to N? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it's going to print out a space here. Ito pong space. Yung first space na ito, yung highlighted. Yan. So, let's see. Since na-satisfy po niya, we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of J, which is magiging 5 na po ngayon. Is 5 less than or equal to N? Yes, since 5 is equal to 5. Therefore, it's going to print a code again. A space again. Ito po. Yung second space na yan. So, since na-satisfy na naman yung condition, and if ever we're going to increment the value of J, magiging 6 na po ang value ng J. And it doesn't satisfy this condition anymore. Therefore, from there, tapos na ang execution ng code na naman na ito. So, let's see for the next code. We'll jump to the next inner loop. Okay, so for m is equivalent to 1, and m is less than or equal to I, which is 4, it's 2, therefore it's going to print the value that is stored in m. And the value that is stored in m is 1. So, we're going to increment the value of m since it satisfies the condition earlier. So m will now become 2. Again, it will print m. And since 2 is less than or equal to I, it will print the value of m. And the value stored in m now is 2. So since 2 satisfies this condition, we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of m. So m will now become 3. Is 3 less than or equal to I, which is 4? Yes, it's 2. It's less than 4. And now we're going to print the value of m. That is stored in m. So that is 3. Kaya po na-print itong 3 na ito. So last, we have, since m is equivalent to 3 and it satisfies this condition, we're now going to execute change by incrementing the value of 4. Incrementing the value of 3, which will now become 4. So m will now become 4. And it still satisfies this condition po since 4 is equivalent to 4, which is the value stored in I. So once again, it's going to print out the value that is stored in m, which is 4. That's why we have 4 in here. So, na-satisfy naman po ng, kung ang m natin is equivalent to 4 and still satisfies this condition, therefore, ma-execute pa po itong code na ito wherein it will increment the value. However, kapag in-increment po natin ang value ng m, magiging 5 na, and it doesn't satisfy this condition anymore here. So, from there, tapos na po ang pag-execute ng inner loop na ito. So, let's see. Done na ito. Next, we will jump here na to see if it has process pa or kung magpa-process pa itong code na ito. Let's see. So, L is equivalent to I, which is 4. So, 4 minus 1 is we have 3. So, ang value ng L is 3 now. And we have a condition here, L is greater than or equal to 1. Yes, it's 2 since 3 is greater than or equal to 1. Therefore, it's going to print the value that is stored in L. So, value stored in L. So, yung value stored in L is 3. That is why na-print niya po itong value ng L, which is 3. So, since it satisfies the condition, we're going to decrement the value of L. So, now the value of L is 2. So, is 2 greater than or equal to 1 as dictated by his code? Yes, it's 2. Therefore, it's going to print the value that is stored in L, which is 2. That is why it printed out 2. So, since the value of L satisfies the condition here, we're going to execute change by decrementing the value of L, which will now become 1. And it still satisfies this condition since 1 is equivalent to 1. So, it will print out again the value that is stored in L now, which is 1. So, let's say, pag in-increment pa natin, in order to execute change, L will now become 0 and it doesn't satisfy this condition anymore. Therefore, wala na pong maipiprint out na digit pa. So, again, tapos na ang mga inner loop. Ngayon, we will go back to we'll now go back to printing the first, we will now go back to the outer loop. So, since previously, ang value ng I natin is 4, and it satisfies this condition, we're now going to execute change by incrementing the value of I. Since sabi dito is mag-increment kapag na-satisfy ang condition. So I will now become I now will become 5. Yan. So let's go to the inner loop again, wherein ang condition na ngayon ang I is 5. So J is equivalent to I, which is 5. Is 5 greater than or equal to N? Yes, it's true. Therefore, it's going to print out a space. Ito na po yun. Only executed once, since kapag in-increment po natin ang value ng J, which the J will now become 6 and it doesn't satisfy this condition anymore. Therefore, it only executed once, giving us or the code printing one space only. Okay, so since the first inner loop is done, let's see for the next second inner loop. So M is equivalent to 1. So M is less than or equal to I or 5. Yes, it's true. Therefore, it's going to print out the value of M, which is 1. So we're going to increment the value of M. Magiging 2 na po ang M. So is 2 less than or equal to I? Yes, it's 2. Therefore, it's going to print another value. And the value stored in M is 2. So we're going to execute change by incrementing the value of M again. So M will now become 3. Is 3 less than or equal to I? Yes, it's 2. So it's going to print out the value of M, which is now 3. Yan. So again, since it satisfies the condition previously, we're going to increment the value of M. The value of M now will become 4. So it satisfies the condition. Therefore, we're going to print out the value of M, another digit wherein ang digit na yan, ang nakastore is yung value ng M, which is, we said earlier, is 4. That is why it printed 4. So, since 4 satisfies the condition, we're going to increment the value again in order to execute change. So, M will now become 5. Is 5 less than or equal to I? Yes, it's true, since 5 is equivalent to 5. Therefore, it's going to print out another digit kung saan ang value is M. And that value is 5 since an increment. So let's say we're going to execute change again by incrementing the value of M. So ang M natin ay magiging 6 now and it doesn't satisfy this condition anymore. Therefore, hindi na siya makaprint and tapos na po itong second inner loop na ito. So we're done here for the second inner loop. Now, let's jump to the next loop. So, L is equivalent to I minus 1. 5 minus 1 is 4, so the value of L is 4. So, is 4 greater than or equal to 1? Yes, it's true. Therefore, we're going to print out the value of L. And that value of L is 4. That is why nakaprint po ng 4. So, in order to execute change, we're going to decrement the value of L. So, now the value of L is 3. Is 3 greater than or equal to 1? Yes, it's true. Therefore, we're going to print the value of L again. And the value stored in L is 3. That is why it prints out 3. So, we're going to execute change again by decrementing the value of M. Now, M will become 2 since previously 3 po siya. So, is 2 less than or equal to 1? Yes, 2 is 2 greater than or equal to 1? Yes, it's 2. Therefore, it's going to print out again the value that is stored in L, which is 2. So again, we're going to execute change by decrementing the value of L. So, magiging 1 na po siya. So, L is equivalent, the value stored in L now will be 1. So, is L greater than or equal to 1? Yes, it's true since it's equal to 1. Therefore, we're going to print out another value, another digit, wherein that digit na nakastore po doon is yung value ng L, which is 1. That is why na-print po yan. So, let's say we're going to execute change again by decrementing the value of L. So, L will now become 0 since previously 1 ang value niya. So, is 0 greater than or equal to 1? No, it doesn't satisfy the condition. That is why hindi na po nakaprint ng bagong digit or ng bagong value ng L. So, from there, tapos na po siya. Itong inner loop na ito. So, mag-execute na po itong system.out.println. So, if ever man, meron pang isang row, kasi hindi magkakadikit-dikit yung mga numbers. So, let's see kung meron pang another row. So, previously, we stated that the value of I is 5, and it satisfies this condition. So, in order to execute change, we're going to increment the value of I, which is 5. So, now, ang magiging value na ng I is 6. Okay, let's say, magiging 6 na po siya ngayon. However, it doesn't satisfy this condition anymore since I should be less than or equal to n, and the value stored in n is 5. So, kapag value ng I natin is 6 now, 6 will not be less than or equal to n. So, from there, false na po ito, and wala na. Tapos na po ang pag-execute ng mga code na ito. That is why it only gives us this pattern. Yun lang po, sir. Thank you. Thank you po ulit, sir, for the consideration.